So, the Switch, one of Nintendo's most successful consoles, and as of recording this video, it's been going strong for 7 years, which isn't a scary thought at all, right? With the success of this console, Nintendo decided to port a lot of their Wii U games to the Switch, most likely to not make them exclusive to a coffin. Now, what these titles added varied, but it was nice to have them on the Switch. However, some titles were simply just not going to work on the Switch. At least, not without a major overhaul, and one of these titles was Splatoon. I've already talked about this game a while back, but it really relied on the Wii U gamepad. It could probably work without it, but it would likely not be ideal. However, the title was a pretty big success on the Wii U, and Nintendo didn't really want to leave this brand new IP stranded on the console, I think. So, were they just gonna craft a whole new title for the Switch? Well, not really. Yeah, it's no secret that Splatoon 2 is kind of in a weird spot now that Splatoon 3 exists. But before I do any of that, I have to actually get the game because I want to save money. So, you got the game?
Yeah, what about it?
Need it? Review? Hello?
Are you sure this is a clean deal?
I mean, yeah. I came here alone. Why would I? I don't even have any friends, dude. It's fine.
Alright, fine.
I reviewed games. What makes you think I have friends to begin with?
I don't know. Hey, who's
Hey,
that
guy?
Run!
I'm assuming you've watched the first video, or at least played Splatoon on the Wii U, so you know the drill. Finish the tutorial, super jump to Inkopolis Square, the lobby for this game, etc, etc. But before I talk about that, we do need to discuss the control. Now, the gameplay has stayed the same since the first game. Squid shoot ink, squid swim to refill ink and go faster, go get killed in combat. However, the first game used the Wii U gamepad pretty heavily, as I mentioned before. But the Switch doesn't exactly have a gamepad, so they had to rework the entire game to work on a single controller. And it's alright. I won't say it's outright bad, and you could go far worse, but it's never going to match up to using the gamepad, man. To super jump or see the map, you now have to press a button to open up a map screen and then press the direction to where you want to super jump. Again, it's a decent solution, but just compared to just tapping on someone on the gamepad to me. Another issue is that using the gyro feels worse here, in a way. Not the control, because it still feels as tight and as responsive as ever, but rather the calibration. See, in the first game you had the option to press a button to recenter the gyro in case the calibration screwed up. However, I never really found myself using this as it barely happened with the gamepad. However, on the Switch, it happens constantly, and it's not a total deal breaker, but having to recenter the gyro is annoying to me. Lastly, maybe I'm just being crazy, but I swear the control just doesn't feel as good as it did in the first title, especially when swimming. Again, it's not bad, but it just feels worse than the first game. It's just likely just me, but I just swear it's not smooth as it was before. In any case, with that out of the way, Inkopolis Square. Yeah, this kinda blows. I understand not wanting to craft an entirely new lobby for this game, considering 1 and 2 are literally 2 years apart, but this just feels lame. I get it's a new area of Inkopolis, but it just feels very small and cramped. I honestly would have just taken the plaza again at this point, but other than that, it's the same song and dance. You can shop for various gifts and weapons here, and visit not so shady spots, a bunch of side stuff like this dancing minigame, and see all the fellow people you've met in your matches, with the bonus of actually seeing their messages. So the square has that going for it, I guess. You could also explore the square, but like I said, it's smaller compared to the plaza, so I don't really find myself doing much. Which means just go.
Seriously?
Yeah, I don't care at this point. Like the first game, Splatoon 2 has a story mode as well. The plot this time is that one of the idols from the last game, Callie, has gone missing, along with the great Zapfish. Instead of being greeted by the old guy like last time, we're greeted by the other idol from the last game, Marie. She's looking for her cousin and the Octarians and their leader, DJ Octavio. are absolutely up to something, again, so it's up to you to save Callie, the Great Zapfish, and Inkopolis, again. If you couldn't tell, story mode is basically more of the same from the first game, but I actually think it's worse. But before that, let's go over the positives. The most important change here is that you actually get multiple weapons here, meaning that it adds a lot more variety to this mode. The first game had you stick to the same weapon for the whole thing, and while it wasn't bad, I did get a bit tired of it by the last world. Another major change is that to upgrade your gear, you not only have to use the product you find, but you have to also find these sardines scattered throughout levels. I suppose it's so it isn't a total breeze to max out your gear, which I'm fine with. Other than that, it's more of the same linear stuff from the first game. There's 5 worlds, and it's either just getting to the Zapfish, testing out different areas of movement that get gimmicky sometimes, grabbing 10 mini Zapfish while avoiding the Octolings, all of that stuff. So, with changes like these, it should be a better story mode, right? Yeah, I wish. See, the first major flaw is the multiple weapons. I know I just praise this, but the issue is that sometimes you'll be forced to play a level with a certain weapon, and I don't really like some of these weapons, so it makes some of these levels just a chore. And given that there's 8 weapons, good luck trying to beat every level 8 times. The biggest flaw is the hub worlds. In the first game, all I had to do was just explore and ink areas to reveal the kettles, which is simple but fun. Splatoon 2 does the same thing, but it just cranks up the annoying factor to 11. By the 5th and final world, I just want to end it all. Who the hell thought winning in platforms was a good idea for a hub world? It already sounds like a pain as a level, but when you have to do this just to access the level, it's a goddamn nightmare. The bosses are thankfully much better here, as they don't end super quickly and don't overstay their welcome, save for the final boss. See, with Callie being revealed as being hypnotized by these shades to be Octavia's servant, you'd think it'd be a really good boss fight, but it's the worst one instead. The first phase takes place in an open field, so it's just bland as a result. And then in the second phase, you have to take a modified Rainmaker from the ranked mode and use it to damage Octavia while running on rails, and slam it into him to end it all. Sounds like fun, right?
That's it?
Yeah, this boss is piss easy and it's over in a matter of minutes. For our final boss, that's pretty sad. At least it means the story mode is over and I can move on, but needless to say, this entire mode is just a downgrade from Splatoon 1, and I would really only recommend this if you're curious.
Is it finally time for the online multiplayer?
Pretty much? Yeah.
Hey.
Aside from the map queue being changed from 4 hours to 2 hours, online is pretty much the same from the first game, but with all the gameplay changes carried over due to being on the Switch. You get the gear and weapon of your choice and play turf wars or ranked, though a big change is that they changed the specials so they aren't stupidly overpowered like they were in the first game. It does lose a bit of the chaotic energy that the first game had, but I can see why they did so. Though some of the new specials do leave me confused, like the ink armor, where it just takes effect a few seconds after you do it, while in the first game equivalent it just activates instantly. But that aside, Turf War is pretty much the same as it ever was, just with some new maps thrown into the mix as well. They're alright, though I find the maps from the first game to be more memorable. Not that any of these are bad, but they just didn't really leave much of an impression on me. It is nice that they tweaked some of the returning maps though. Spawn camping isn't so common in the skate park anymore, thank god. But the goal is the same, 2 teams of 4 battle to ink the most of the maps in 3 minutes. You either steamroll or get steamrolled. Ranked is also here with the same requirement of being level 10 to access it. Though, there is now a food truck in the plaza, which means you can find tickets for various food in story mode or other places to give you various perks, like an experience multiplier for a set amount of matches. This is a pretty welcome change, as it made grinding for ranked much faster than in the first game. As for ranked though, the 3 returning modes, splat zones, Rainmaker, and tower control all remain the same, but with minor tweaks made to them, like the Rainmaker being an explosive weapon this time around, which I much prefer, personally. These modes are also pretty much unchanged otherwise, so I'm not going to explain how they work again. However, Splatoon 2 did introduce a new ranked mode, Clam Blitz. Yeah, this mode is dog shit. Now, the concept here isn't exactly bad. You basically gather these clams, form a football, and use it to break the enemy goal barrier, and then huck it in as many clams as possible. Least points remaining or the team who gets the other team down to 0 wins. Now, when I explain it, it sounds simple, but when you're actually playing it in game for the first time, it's just very confusing and unintuitive. If I have to look up a guide to figure out what to do in your game mode, either I'm stupid or it's just not designed very well, or maybe both. But yeah, I really don't like this mode and I have no desire to play this mode after reviewing it. I do like the implication that a bunch of clams together form a football though. Yeah, we're gonna have to go for takeout. But when the ranked queue fails me, I know another mode that has my back. Motherfuck. Salmon Run is wildly different compared to all the other online modes because it's a wave defense game mode. The basic goal here is to kill these fish-like creatures, salmonoids, and basically get these golden eggs from defeating the various bosses of different varieties. But it's not that simple because you gotta take the eggs and carry them all the way to the basket. Failure to get the eggs in time will result in these guys taking them into the ocean. And they're also super speedy, so you're pretty much screwed if they get the eggs. Meet the quota by getting the required number of eggs into a basket in time, and it's on to the next wave. And you just do this for 3 waves and you're golden. Though it's obviously not that easy, the first reason being that you don't get to choose your weapon. See, there's always a rotation of 4 different weapons in this mode and you'll get randomly assigned one every wave, so you better hope you get a weapon you can at least tolerate. And even your specials rotate too. You only get 2 uses for them through the whole game, but they are lifesavers in tight situations. Granted, you do know how to use them. Weapon rotation can have special events sometimes, ranging from all random weapons to Grizzco weapons, which are basically just amped up regular weapons that chug through your ink. But they are really good, so it helps that if you do well enough, you can get some seriously good rewards from here, mainly being cash or food tickets, but it's nice to have. However, the major flaw this mode has had is that it's only open sometimes, and instead of making the mode available anytime like all the other modes, it's only available during some days, which is just, why? I'm so glad the Turtle game removed this entirely because it just doesn't make any sense to me. Another issue isn't on the developers, but it's just that I wasn't really able to find anyone in this mode. Maybe like a couple times, but I was just alone for a good chunk of my time. Good luck getting all those unborn babies by yourself, I guess. With that new mode aside though, there is a certain event that returns from the first game. I really wish I could say something about the Splatfest, but I really can't. The first game had an active scene from Mars to make their own Splatfest, so I was able to do that back then. But here, it doesn't look like there is one, and even if there was one, I'm not going through the trouble of hard modding my OLED Switch to do so. It's a damn shame too, because the Splatfest here actually looks super fun. Not to mention all the promotional artwork and stuff that's put out for these. Like, holy shit. Did I forget to mention that there was also a race war at one point? And dude, the final Splatfest, holy shit, they really pull out all the stops for this one. It's like they amped up the party aspect of the first game to 11. Again, I wish I could talk about what it was like, but the most I could have done back then was just watch from a distance. And it seems like it's going to remain this way. As for the gears or weapons and all that, it's pretty much the same from the first game. Get to level 4 to shop to your heart's content, but some weapons are locked behind levels. Gears have abilities and sub-abilities, you get the point. But like the first game, since Splatfests are not a thing anymore, you can't really get super sneeze nails to get new abilities or slots for a gear. Again, at least the first game had mod Splatfest going for it. Though, new to this game is the ability to order your stuff from the Nintendo Switch online app. In the first game, if you saw a piece of gear you liked from someone else, you could usually order it for yourself. Granted, you want to wait a day. You can do the same thing in Splatoon 2, but now you can do this, also use the mobile app to see if there's any gear you want in as well. It helps that it's also instant, so it's a nice option to have. But other than that, what other stuff does this game add or improve upon? Given that the game is on more powerful hardware, the graphics have seen an improvement, but only somewhat if you ask me. First of all, the animation has seen a major overhaul, feeling way more cartoony and lively now. Not that the first game lacked this detail, but it's clear that it's a bit lacking when you compare it to this game. The resolution also got a bump up, and it still manages to keep a consistent 60 frames per second almost all the time, resulting in a really good looking game to this day. Though some areas like the shops are still locked to 720p, and they look a lot more crisp compared to the other areas as a result. Another cool thing is that the game still keeps attention to detail like the first game did, like with the brands, the music, and so on. It really does a good job making you feel like this game has a world of its own, and that's something I find impressive every time I play this game. But there is a gripe I do have with the presentation, and it's the lighting. Splatoon 2 goes for a much harsher style of lighting compared to the first game, I think. and leads to mixed results. On one hand, it does make certain areas like the Salmon Run on the maps look a lot nicer, but on the other hand, a lot of the areas just look too bright and harsh for my liking, like the majority of the story mode stages. It's totally just my preference though, and I can see why someone would like this look. But man, I do not like getting blinded by the sun. I'm just glad this was toned down in the third game at least. Of course, you can't talk about Splatoon without mentioning... Yeah, I'm not too fond of the soundtrack. Before I go off, it's worth noting that in my review of my last game, I failed to talk about the bands, and I got a nice little rant to note as a result. So, let's talk about them. See, Splatoon not only does a great job making you feel like you're in a totally different world from the presentation alone, but also in the music. In Splatoon, there's a variety of tracks that come from different bands, and each of these bands have a distinct style to them. Splatoon 2 does have good stuff, but it doesn't feel consistent. See, Splatoon 1 always kept this certain feel with all of its songs, no matter what the band was. Splatoon 2, these songs just feel all over the place, with some being great, but others just being unfitting or just straight up bad. Hell, some songs are just change of songs from the first game, and man, it's always weird just hearing these play. They also really just ruined the team that plays in the last minute of Turf Wars, Now or Never. In the first game, it was this frantic track that amped up the feeling of what was going on. In the second game, it straight up feels out of a rave party, and it just doesn't work. I'm supposed to be getting pumped, not getting down. So yeah, Splatoon 2's soundtrack is just a major letdown for me. It's not bad by any means, and there is good stuff in here, but I don't really find myself coming back to it for a reason. The story mode tracks are all at least still great, but some of them are just straight up reused from the first game, so go figure. And that's Splatoon 2, which is just Splatoon again. Yeah, I've been using that word a lot lately throughout this video, but that's really the best way I can describe this game, you know? I get why the game is like this due to coming out the same year the Switch launch and all that, but this game is just in a very weird spot now that Splatoon 3 is out. That game feels a lot more comfortable on the Switch and it just offers a lot more to do, personally. Splatoon 2 is nowhere near a bad game, but there's just no real reason for me to play it aside from this review. If I wanted to play Splatoon, I'd either play 3 because of the latest title, or 1 because of its Wii U era feel. Oh, right. Point is, there's nothing in Splatoon 2 that really drives me to come back to it, you know? I'm sure that if this was the latest title, or if I was nostalgic for it, I'd be singing a different tune, but that's sadly not the case here. Since this title was on a successful platform, I can understand why so many people love this title or are nostalgic for it. And I can still respect this title because while it's not very different from Splatoon 1, it's still Splatoon at the end of the day, and it really did introduce this franchise to a lot more people, so thanks for that. But they did remove that local player mode that the first game had that only 5 people played, so never mind. Bad game, 0 out of 10.